Thank you, Mr. Owaisi, for speaking to NDTV for your time. My first question to you, sir. The SG's assurances are now on record. No appointments, no change in the status of Waqf properties till the next hearing. Do you see this as some sort of real relief, or do you see this as a pause before a storm?
No, first of all, I take objection to the word assurance by the SG. You see, the Supreme Court yesterday itself had told that they want to give an interim relief. So it was not a question of SG's assurance. The Supreme Court had given an interim relief, and it's an interim relief. But our objective, our struggle, and our opinion is that this whole act in itself is unconstitutional. It violates Article 14, 15, 25, 26, and 29. And apart from what has been given as relief, there are many sections still in this law which will destroy the Waqf board and which are not in the interest of the Muslim Waqf board.
Okay. But Mr. Owaisi, do you also anticipate a long, protracted legal battle ahead? And in that case, what, in your view, is the strongest constitutional argument against these amendments? Because yesterday we did see this discussion on Article 26, and it reminded me of the hijab case hearing in Karnataka, the essential practices to Islam. What do you think is your strongest constitutional argument, which will not just stick in courts, but also resonate with people of this country?
See, I hope this does not become a protracted legal battle, because if it unfortunately, if it becomes a protracted legal battle, then it is the Waqf board and the Muslim community which will stand to lose more. Now, I tell you, for example, as we speak today, the law of limitation has been applied to the Waqf properties. Basically, the encroachers will become owners as of now. Under Section 2, the trust properties which were part of Waqf will now not be part of Waqf, and this will unnecessarily be rewarding to the richest man of our country who has built his great palatial home on a Khoja orphanage. Thirdly, you have the 5 years limit of practicing Islam. Now, please tell me, who will decide whether one is practicing or not? The term contravenes. What about if she's a lady? Fourthly, we'll be losing all Waqf evacuee properties, because as of now, from today onwards, they'll become under government custodian. If the collector issues instructions to a mutawalli to do something stupid, which is not part of the work of mutawalli, he can be sentenced to 5 years. The government of India will be making rules which will be violating rules of federalism. So there are many. See, these are 40 odd amendments which are contrary to the Constitution and in particular fundamental rights. So a legal battle continues. It is the Muslim community who will still be losing property despite the interim relief given by the Honorable Supreme Court.
Right. Mr. Owaisi, how do you also look at this criticism that this is overreach by judiciary, because this, at the end of the day, is a law that was passed by the parliament? Do you see this as necessary intervention? Because at the end of the day, there was discussion before this law, this bill was passed, it became an act, and governments are responsible because they're elected governments, and people who voted for them, the governments are answerable to those people.
Well, you see, the government is in a dictatorial mood from last 10, 11 years. The parliament is independent, the executive is independent, and judiciary is independent. So the judiciary has a role, it is independent, and they are there to check whether a law has been passed according to the Constitution, whether it is violating freedom of fundamental rights, whether it is violating basic structure of the Constitution. And one has to accept, see, the government cannot, is behaving like a small child. Oh, if I don't get my toy, I'll cry. That is not the case. We are also saying it's an interim relief. I've given you examples of 7 sections wherein the Muslims will be losing Waqf property, but it is a judgment of the Supreme Court. So that is why I say that our protest and our legal battle will continue, because unless and until we are successful in calling this law an unconstitutional, the government will be looting the Waqf properties and the Muslims will be the sufferers over here.
Right. Mr. Owaisi, I know that you've discussed this earlier as well, but the SG has also raised a very core issue here. Entire villages being marked as Waqf, private lands being declared disputed. We've had case studies from, Munambam in Kerala and also Katukole in Tamil Nadu. The SG says that this is about property rights, land rights, and also the rights of poor people. How do you respond to that?
Now, first of all, land is a state issue. What has the central government got to do? Secondly, is he trying to say that lands which are part of Waqf should be given to people who want it not to be Waqf? So this is the hypocrisy of the government. You see, and it is the government, by issuing a gazette notification, they have called those properties Waqf. It is not you and me. So it is the responsibility of the government to protect those properties which are issued by the state government, by the chief secretary of the gazetted properties. Instead of that, your real intention has come out now. You are not there to save the Waqf properties. You want to reward encroachers, which you are doing right now when we speak, in the form of Limitation Act being applied, in the form of Section 2, the trusts have come out of Waqf, in the form of evacuate Waqf properties are now in government custody.
Right. Also, Mr. Owaisi, my last question to you is, what do you see as larger socio-political consequences if this law stays? Do you see this creating discord between communities? Because the government claims that nobody was really harmed by CAA or Triple Talaq law, and that the opposition is just creating noise. We know what is happening in Murshidabad, and that's really sad and horrific. And more importantly, the argument that for every Waqf by user property, 13th century mosque, there's also a temple that could be older than that. So that, makes it very clear that this is a never-ending debate. How do you respond to that?
Now, please allow me a minute to answer 4 important points you have raised. Number 1 is about Waqf by user. You have been a witness to the joint working committee meetings. When we come out, we had spoken to media. I had given a dissent note against the Waqf by user being removed. Now, can the government show us that if there is a temple from 12th century, the Hindu endowment law of Tamil Nadu and important jurist like Mr. B.K. Mukherjee says, by usage, it becomes the mud property or temple property. Supreme Court has upheld Waqf by user in the Ram Mandir judgment. Thirdly, I have been consistently saying that if that bill becomes a law, this will weaken our social fabric. This will lead to more social tension. This will lead to divisiveness. This will lead to more wrong messaging. And unfortunately, violence took place in Murshidabad, which we condemn. Violence has no place. But why has the government brought this law? How is it supporting the Waqf? Where is the transparency? Please give us examples by section wise. You're not able to do that. When it is good for a Hindu endowment board, the Buddhist board or the Christian board or the Sikh Gurdwara, why it is wrong for the Muslim community?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Owaisi, for speaking to NDTV and raising those questions, some of which have also been raised by the court. But remember that the government is sure of getting this through. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out in the Supreme Court.